I got a bath all by myself. I got my bath bomb and my book, and it was delightful. Like, it was so good. I needed this so much because everything has been so crazy lately. And so that's why my hair's wet. Like, that's the point, because I don't blow dry, so it's wet. But I got a bath today, you guys. And today, actually, we're not making bath bombs, so that's weird that I'm talking about my bath, but I celebrate the big victories in life, and that's super one of them. So, yay, I got to take a bath today. And we're going to talk about the soap that I'm making today that I may have used in the bath. I don't know, in just a minute. But before we do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. What is up, sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And yeah, aside from me having an epic bath today, I also got to make a really cool soap for a new wholesale account for day 260 of 365 days of soap. And it's following up with the soap that we made yesterday. Same wholesale account, same coffee house, all of the things, except for this one is going to be her signature coffee blend soap, which is cool. Her coffee was used in it, her coffee grounds were used in it for the exfoliant, and it smells delightful. It's a nice espresso, but not a bold in your face, because we definitely dried it down with some vanilla and a little bit of sugar notes, smelling more like a hazelnut coffee than anything else. And I wanted to make sure that this looked like a really delightful, so good you want to drink it latte, essentially. So let's go to the video and we can talk all about, the pour and the bar and all the things there. And I can, just still continue to be oh so relaxed and rejuvenated on my post-bath high.
You know the worst part about making coffee soaps? I want coffee. So I really want coffee right now. So we are working with all Mad Micah's colors today. So magic beans, because coffee, yes, sexy stranger on a train, and poppycock in 3 different awesome, dispersions here. Now, I did remove a portion of the oils from the total batch to disperse the micas. I don't always do that. Sometimes I will put extra oil into the little beakers, and that means that they're just, super fatted a little bit more, and that's cool. Now, before we start talking about the pour and all of the things, this is actually something pretty important. So I am soaping this very low, right? It's my lye solution is actually room temperature, and I don't exactly know what room temperature means. It was sitting in the shop for overnight at 58 degrees, like the shop was, and I came in and threw together my oils and did the thing. And you have to pay attention to soap when it's this cold and when your lye solution is this cold, because it's not emulsified there, but as you can see, it's hit a trace, right? So that's what false trace actually is. It's when it looks like it's at trace because you are soaping with cool oils or cool lye or both, or a lot of thick oils. There are a lot of reasons why you can get false trace, but you're not actually emulsified yet. You have not hit your emulsion. And so just pay attention to that, as it looks like it's getting super duper thick in the pot. Once I actually hit an emulsion, which is right there, looks beautiful. You can totally roll from there. And just pay attention to the fluidity of the batter moving forward, because a lot of first-time soapers, I mean, a lot of seasoned soapers too, they'll look at that and go, they'll judge instead of going off of an emulsion, they'll go off the thickness of the batter. And if I were to have, you know, stopped my mixing, you know, 90 seconds earlier, I would not have been in an emulsion. Granted, it probably still would have been fine because you're doing so much more mixing when you're putting in your colors and everything that you're continuing to, you know, break apart all those fatty acid chains and really get the lye solution working to break those down and change them into soap. But why risk it? So always make sure that you get to an emulsion, and you know, so there it is. That's false trace. Now with this, I have 4 different containers that I'm breaking off into for the colored portions. That will be the base. It'll be a lot like yesterday's bar, except we are going with coffee colors and actually mixing them together more, so they're going to be muddier when it's all said and done, is the plan. So I'm working at a very, very thin trace in order to accomplish that, so we don't have like really stark contrasting, you know, swirls throughout all this. And also, I also did reserve just under half of the batch for the top, so there's going to be a bigger white top in this one than there was in yesterday's. And so yeah, that's what we're going with. Now with this pour, I'm also doing this differently than I did yesterday. It's still a swirl. It's still, they're meant to be, you know, sister bars. Yesterday's, you know, sandalwood bar and this one. So it's still a swirl pour, but I'm actually, yesterday I did it in the mold with an S curve, you know, and today I'm not. I'm going to do it in the pot, I think. Is that what I'm going to do? That's what I did. That's totally what I did. I did it in the pot swirl. If I ended up not doing it in the pot swirl, then, you know, I'll correct myself at that point, but pretty sure that that's what this one was. And yeah, so all of these will be mixed together, and all of the colors will be dispersed through the soap batter, and then it will be kaolin clayed and scented, and then, you know, poured. Now with this, I did a really cool blend for this actually, because she didn't want a straight in your face espresso that I use for like my espresso shot. So she wanted something, yes, coffee, but with some vanilla tones. And so that's what I did. It kind of smells like a hazelnut type coffee or like a vanilla latte. So you definitely have your coffee notes in there, but there is a nice kick of, you know, like milk and sugar to it to sweeten it up a little bit and make it kind of more comforting with all of it, which I'm totally here for. So, and then also with this guy that we don't do for the second, or that we didn't do for the first one, is we are adding coffee to the main batch there for the copper. So we will be putting copper into the big Pyrex there, and not, I'm sorry, did I say copper or coffee? Coffee? I really need coffee right now. I'm dying. Oh God. We'll be putting coffee into the big Pyrex there where the copper soap, the poppycock, is. And then we will build the swirls into that container as well. And I think that container is just big enough to hold all of the soap. I'm hoping that it is anyway, and you know, we'll go from there. But the coffee that I'm using in this is actually from this coffee house, because you know, they have their own coffee beans, and that's awesome. So we're definitely going to use their coffee in their soap, because that's awesome. It's another way to drive all of the points home and make it completely and totally yours, which is an important thing. Now let's go check out this pour. And on to the pour. Now again, very, very thin batter, and also very, very terrible angles. My God. Okay, so the white or the brown went right in the middle, and the white is going at, you know, if it's a clock, it's 3 and 9, right? And then the more red color, the magic beans, that's going at 6 and 12. And I should have used my left hand. I'm sorry, you guys. That was stupid. And yeah, so you get to see none of it, but the batter itself, very, very thin. Notice how thin it is. That is going to be important for what I'm wanting to do with this pour, because again, I don't want super duper stark lines throughout all of it. I want the swirls to be more blended into each other. And a really great way to do that is to pour with a really thin batter. Now, if you want swirls that are very obviously, separate from the other colors and they don't really blend into the other colors too terribly much, then go more towards a medium trace for your swirling and all the things. That's great. Now, with this, just literally randomly going to give it a little bit of movement there, and then I'm just going to pour it all into the mold in one fell swoop. And for the top, I will let this set up for about 20 minutes because it's a very thin batter. So I'm going to let this set up for about 20 minutes before I put the white on top that I will then, sculpt and do the things. Now, when this particular wholesale client came to me and wanted to do soaps for her coffee shop, I told her, I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. We can absolutely do that. But how many soaps are we talking about? How are you planning on storing them? What quantity of, soaps are you going to be keeping in your shop at any given time? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, well, let's just do 2 to start with, but, why? And I was like, well, here's the thing. When you have coffee or when you have soaps in a coffee shop or a, tea shop or whatever, and you're also selling your bagged coffees and or teas, it actually, the soap has like natural flavonoids in them, right? And it can pull the tannins from the coffee just by, the air and soap collecting stuff from and it can actually alter the taste of coffees, coffee beans, tea, all of that jazz. And so definitely keep that in mind if you are someone that, has a coffee shop or a tea shop, or you are someone who wants to, branch out in your soap world and, also include beverages. That can be tricky. It'll be less tricky for her because her main thing is coffee, right? But if I were to, for example, put in a coffee shop into my shop, I have 2,600 square feet of soap. Right? Like, it's soap. It's a lot of soap. And if I were to put a little coffee shop in there, yeah, it would alter the taste of the coffee. And it would not be, because the soap would win out, essentially, and it would be sucking all kinds of goodness from the coffee that you really don't want. So that's some fun, interesting stuff that, I don't know that everybody really knows. And so, if you were interested, there it is. That's why mixing soap with certain businesses can actually be not good, but you have to be careful. I mean, it's not bad, but just be careful with it. Be careful with your inventory, how you package it, how close you put your coffee to your soaps, all that jazz. But yeah, so this has set up again for another 10 minutes or so, because as you can see, it was very fluid going in, so we could sculpt the top. And I'm not going to do a mica drizzle on the top of this one. I'm going to keep the top nice and white. And, we'll put it in the oven and do the C-pop thing and make sure all those browns are beautiful and brown. I'm actually very curious to see this magic beans when it's all said and done, because I've never used this color before. And I mean, except for, no, I've legitimately never used this color before. I was going to say, I guess I mixed it yesterday, but I didn't. I used Spicy Tomato and Sexy Stranger on a Train to get the burgundy yesterday, but that magic beans looked a little red, didn't it? And so I am interested in seeing what that does in the saponification and what these bars look like tomorrow. Because ultimately, if they look too close to yesterday's bars, well, then I have to go back to the drawing board with one or the other of them. Because they're meant to be sister bars, but they're not meant to look exactly the same, just with different scents. So anyway, these are going to get C-popped, and we will cut into these tomorrow and see what they look like inside. And like I said, I'm curious about that. And on to the cut of this beautiful coffee bar, and the scent in this is just so good. It's like some cool espresso note, sure, but it's not big and bold and in your face, because it definitely has some nice sweet tones to it as well. It's kind of like a hazelnut type coffee, I would say, like that scent. It's delightful. And yeah, I mean, come on, show us the cut. Oh, see, that's lovely. I like that. Now, pouring it very, very thin like that was good, because we have the very, not as defined swirls inside, which is good. A lot of it, kind of melded together, and the majority of the bar is a nice, cream coffee color, which I super love. And so, yeah, it doesn't look at all, as I was pouring this, I really was concerned there was going to be too many, you know, orange or red tones in it and not enough, you know, coffee, like again, like a latte color. And that's not the case at all. It is absolutely beautiful, and it's definitely going to work against the other bar for this client. So I love that. Definitely here for that. And the coffee exfoliant, that's an extra added bonus for this particular one, is that you get the coffee exfoliant as well. And the coffee, again, made, this is the coffee that they use at the coffee house. And so they're using their own product for their soap and bringing an entire theme together, which is great, and something that I definitely recommend all of my wholesale accounts do. Bring in your own, you know, your own style and your own products, really, whenever you possibly can, to really fully customize the soap and make it your own and stand within your brand. Because as a business, branding is so important, and, you know, paying attention to that and having a consistent theme throughout everything. And, you know, that's something that my web developer taught me at the very beginning. And my web developer, obviously, it's, you know, Horton's Art, and my brother, and he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And he actually definitely helped reel me in all of the times when I wanted to play with all of the crazy different fonts and colors and all of the things. He's like, this isn't your branding. You cannot do that. And so, you know, it worked out well for me. And so I super recommend everybody else do it as well. Especially when you're, you know, starting a new business or opening a new location. You want that brand recognition whenever you possibly can. And I think this will work really well for this coffee shop, which is cool. And I look forward to seeing what these look like stamped with their logo, really. I think it's going to be really beautiful. And I think, yeah, I'm in love with this. I love this scent blend. Now I'm like low-key jelly because I don't have a coffee that smells like this in my line. But those are the two together, and they're perfect. They totally work well together, but they're also very, very different. So that's great. That is a beautiful bar of coffee soap, and that is also day 260. And yeah, I'm excited to get this into the client's hands.
Seriously, I'm really relaxed. This is nice. Like, the only thing that would have made that whole bath experience better would have been a cup of coffee, which I didn't have, but you know, that's okay. I have this coffee soap and it's pretty extraordinary. I love the design. I love how everything ended up coloring and discoloring, which is very important because when you're working with a really bright color, you want to make sure that actually does tone down a little bit in the final finished, you know, cured soap, so it's not, you know, bright orangey red. And that all worked out, so I love that. If you are interested in these soaps, you cannot get them from me. They are not available at soapandclay.com. If you are local, you can pick them up at Tacoma, Java, because that's where she will be stocking them. And I'm super happy to have created these soaps for her, and I look forward to seeing, you know, what they do in her line. So yeah, if you are interested in more soapy antics, yeah, subscribe to the channel, do the things, that would be cool. If you are interested in following me on social media, I am there, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For those of you who are subscribed to the channel for all the things, hey, thank you. I have a recommendation for you. Go take a bath. This time of the year is crazy. It's nutty. It's insane. Go take a bath. You will feel so much better. You'll be able to get through the next like 6 days of madness. I promise. That does it for me today. Thank you again for joining me for another round of 365 days of soap. I will see you guys all again tomorrow. Bye.